Hello, my name's Andrew Brooks and welcome to my second video for my YouTube channel covering my Beatles singles in chronological order from 1964, one of the most important years in the Beatles career, through to 65. And I've got a stack of 45s to show you from my collection. As I've said previously, it's by no means complete, and I'm sure there's plenty of other things out there that other people have got that I haven't, but this is my collection and I'm really pleased to be able to show it to you. Hello and welcome, and as I said, we're now going to be covering one of the most important years in the Beatles' entire career, 1964. They'd already made it in England, they'd already made it in Europe to an extent, but they still hadn't conquered America. And at the end of 1963, I Want to Hold Your Hand launched in America, and it just went bananas, and it went nuts. And we are now going to be going through my 45s, and the first one I'm going to show you is an old one for us Brits, because this had already been out previously, but it's not on the Capitol label. It's She Loves You on the Swan label. Now, I've got two copies of it here. I'm guessing maybe one of them could be counterfeit. I did read somewhere that if it's got Don't Drop Out, it's from like a one press implant, and that's what this one has. And then this one has slightly bolder writing without the Don't Drop Out bit. But they're both on the Swan label, and they've both got I'll Get You on the B-side. And as I've said in previous videos, the Americans were very, very fortunate, and the Europeans were very fortunate in getting beautiful picture sleeves, something which the Brits didn't really get unless it was an EP until about 1967, and then they started coming out in picture sleeves. But that's the first one. It's on the Swan label, and it's She Loves You. Now, as I was talking about picture sleeves on 7-inch singles, this is one of the English EPs. This is All My Lovin', and it features All My Lovin', Ask Me Why, Money, and P.S. I Love You. It's on the Parlophone label. This is an original UK pressing, and as you can see, it's a slightly different format to the 45s pressing. The yellow writing at the top is a giveaway for a start. But that's the sleeve for it, All My Lovin', and that's the back. It's just a blurb written by Tony Barrow, and a lot of the recordings were obviously issued in 1963, come out on an EP in 1964. Okay. Next we have a non-Beatles record as such. It's on the Columbia label. It's by Peter and Gordon. Peter Asher, brother of Jane Asher, who has become Paul McCartney's girlfriend, and Gordon Waller. Peter and Gordon, and Lennon McCartney very kindly gave them A World Without Love, which I think is one of the few really good songs that the Beatles were happy to give away. There's a few, but there are a few duff ones there as well. But A World Without Love is certainly up there with the best, and it would have been interesting to hear a Beatles version of it. I do believe there's like a McCartney demo of it out and about, but it's on the Columbia label, this one. Very similar design to Parlophone. It's all part of EMI, and that's Peter and Gordon, A World Without Love. Now, coming into the next UK issue single, it's the Beatles with You Can't Do That. Sorry, I'll correct myself. You Can't Do That was on the B-side. Can't Buy Me Love, and yeah, the B-side is You Can't Do That. Again, really nice, interesting sleeves designs, because the original UK ones had like a wavy line across the top. I don't know if you can see that. And as the years went on, they had different adverts on the rear of the sleeve. But that's a UK original Can't Buy Me Love from 1964. Now, coming on to a German issue on Polydor, and it's a reissue of the Ain't She Sweet which I believe did come out earlier, probably 62, before the really hit the big time. And they'd recorded this session in Hamburg with Tony Sheridan, and on the B-side is If You Love Me Baby. It's on the Polydor label, and it's Ain't She Sweet by the Beatles. Now switching back across the Atlantic to the next one on the VJ label. I think what happened, because Capitol were reluctant to sign the Beatles and put out any of their records initially, EMI or Brian or whoever was in charge of putting them out over in the States basically sold them to whichever record company they wanted to take them on. So VJ in America bought the rights to put them out, and they put out Do You Want to Know a Secret and Thank You Girl, again in a great sleeve, repeated on the back. It's the same picture, it's a drawing, it's not an actual photograph. And here's the VJ label of Do You Want to Know a Secret and Thank You Girl. That's on the VJ label, and that's an American issue. Switching back to the UK, once again, a Columbia single by Peter and Gordon, another Lennon-McCartney song called Nobody I Know. Again, it's on the Columbia label. The B-side is not a Beatles track or a Lennon-McCartney track, you don't have to tell me. But the A-side is a song Lennon-McCartney gave away to Peter and Gordon, Nobody I Know. I'm sure if you have a look on YouTube you'll be able to find these recordings if you search hard enough. Okay, next big thing in the UK was A Hard Day's Night, their first movie, and here we have an original UK A Hard Day's Night on the A side with Things We Said Today on the B side. Standard parlophone sleeve, nothing different on the back from the previous issues, and once again this is a UK original issue. Switching back to the States now, over here in the UK, Love Me Do in 1962 launched them, and I think it reached like number 18 or 17 in the charts. But Holly Records in the US put this out in 1964. Again, obviously got the rights to put it out, and they actually put the same coupling as we had in the UK. It's Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You. Once again, the drawing sleeve rather than a photograph. This is on Holly Records. Here's the record itself, Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You, on Holly Records. Now, not to be outdone in the States, obviously the Beatles have now exploded, and we had A Hard Day's Night issued in the UK, and in America it came out with a fabulous picture sleeve, nice photos of them in concert, presumably in America somewhere, and it's on the Capitol label, the orange and yellow swirl, backed with I Should Have Known Better. Both tracks are from A Hard Day's Night, and I really love the sleeve. It's just so nice to see picture sleeves, because as I say, we were deprived of them in the UK. Switching back to the UK now, we have on parlophone, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, another Lennon-McCartney song they gave away, From a Window. I don't think I've ever heard any demos or anything like this for the song. Presumably they must have just played it to them or written it down, or however they gave it to them. But Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas recorded From a Window, 1964, written by Lennon-McCartney. Okay, an offshoot from A Hard Day's Night, we have George Martin and his orchestra with This Boy, an instrumental version, and it's called Ringo's Theme, and this is the bit in the film where he's walking along beside the river taking selfies, and on the back of it is another instrumental by George Martin's orchestra, And I Love Her. Standard parlophone sleeve and UK parlophone label. Again, 1964, instrumental versions of Beatles songs from the film. Next we have quite an unusual one. This is If I Fell If I Fell and I Love Her from A Hard Day's Night, and this is the American issue. Now, while I was over in the States, '96, I picked this up. That's the picture sleeve, and you may wonder what the white strip is across the top. It's like a cardboard hanger thing. It was stapled to the sleeve, and there's a punch hole there, so they could like hang it on a spindle thing, and presumably you went to your local shop and these were all hanging up, and you could just take it off. It looks like it cost 67 cents in America. I thought this was quite unusual when I picked it up, and I can't remember how much I paid for it, but as far as I know, they're quite hard to find with the little thing to hang it on a rack. But this is the American copy of And I Love Her and If I Fell. Okay, next up we have another unusual version of A Hard Day's Night. For the first time we've left Europe and America, and this is from Africa, I believe, probably South Africa, and it's unusual because it's A Hard Day's Night backed with All My Loving on the parlophone, but instead of the regular centre, it's a triangular centre, and I don't know of any other countries that issue Beatles records with a triangular centre. I'm sure someone out there will know, and someone will put a comment in the comments to correct me. I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong. But this is really unusual, and I was dead chuffed to get this actually. It's a triangular centre of A Hard Day's Night from, I believe, from Africa. Switching back to the UK, and another another Columbia record label by Peter and Gordon, and this one is I Don't Want to See You Again by Lennon McCartney. Again, a song I'm not very familiar with, written and given to Peter Asher and Gordon Waller. I couldn't tell you where it got in the charts, but it's unusual, and because it's unusual, I bought it. Now in the UK, as I've said before, EPs were big, and there were 2 issued for A Hard Day's Night, and this is an original UK pressing for extracts from the film A Hard Day's Night, and it's got the blue sort of very familiar design of the UK album cover, and it's got I Should Have Known Better, If I Fell, Tell Me Why, and I Love Her. That's the B-side, the back, again written by Tony Barrow. There's the record. Now there is a companion one that goes with this, and it's of a an orange design, but similar in layout, but it's orange, and it could be extracts from the album or something like that, and extracts from the album A Hard Day's Night. Unfortunately, I don't have that one. It's on my list, and if I see it, I'll get it, and I'll show you at a later date. But that's an EP, British pressing, first pressing. Now we switch back to the States again, and again another great picture sleeve of concert I Feel Fine, She's a Woman. Unfortunately mine's got a little bit of damage on the side, but I can tell you Amy Levinson, who's written her name on the front, I guess she must have been quite young. It's quite a young hand that's written her name on the front, but this cost her 77 cents, presumably back in 1964. There's the American label, She's a Woman on that side, and I Feel Fine on that side. But again, fabulous picture sleeve. It's something that I wish that we'd have had over here. Switching back to the UK copy of the same single, there it is. Don't you wish we'd have had a nice picture sleeve to go with it? But again, we've just got standard UK parlophone, and it's the UK pressing of I Feel Fine and She's a Woman. And this one is the UK standard issue of If I Fell on the A side and Tell Me Why on the B side. Again, just the standard UK parlophone, first issue. from way back when. Okay, here we go with another EP this time, and I believe there are 2 of these as well. I've only got the one, but this is Beatles for Sale. It's got No Reply, I'm a Loser, Rock and Roll Music and 8 Days a Week. Again, sleeve notes written by Tony Barrow. It's basically a miniaturised version of the Beatles for Sale album cover, and there's the record that goes in it. I really wish that we'd have had more picture sleeves. I know I keep saying it, but that's the one thing that I wish we would have had. Next up, UK, Ticket to Ride, 1965, coming in towards the Help sort of period now, the second movie in colour, green, as John said. Ticket to Ride on the A side, yes it is on the B side, and standard UK parlophone. Switching to the States for the same song. How's that for a picture sleeve? Great picture. Ticket to Ride, yes it is, and here's an American copy of it, the capital swirl. Interestingly though, I don't know if you can pick it up, on the label there it says from the motion picture 8 Arms to Hold You, which was the original title for Help, and then it got changed from 8 Arms to Hold You to Help. And here we are with the UK copy of Help, standard parlophone sleeve, backed with I'm Down. But just going to show you what the our friends over in America got. They got this fabulous picture sleeve taken in Nassau, in the Bahamas, from the movie. And here's the record, and this one does actually say from the motion picture Help with the exclamation mark. And I'm Down on the B side, and I'm Down is a great track. It's one of my favourites. Okay. Switching now to another American single from 1965, We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper. They've used the Beatles for Sale album picture there, with We Can Work It Out on the A side and Day Tripper on the B side. Now, I did mention on my previous video why I keep the sleeves separate, and that's it prevents the record making ring marks. And this one does have a very slight wear, but since I've removed it, no more damage will be done. Takes up more space, but I think it protects the records. Okay, going for our last one today. It's a British EP of the Beatles' million sellers, and it consists of She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love, and I Feel Fine. It's sort of a golden, sort of a greatest hits. And on the back it actually lists the EPs, and so as I said, there's A Hard Day's Night film, A Hard Day's Night number 2, now number 2 is the one I'm missing, Beatles for Sale and Beatles for Sale number 2, and that's the one I'm missing. This was called Million Sellers because all those tracks were a million sellers. However, on the label, I don't know if you can see it, it's actually called Beatles Golden Discs. Show you that again, Beatles Golden Discs. They did come in the million sellers sleeves, and then it got corrected at a later date. Great picture, really love it. And as I say, that's the last one I'm going to be showing you today. Moving on to 66. I have got a couple more sleeves out, but I'm going to save them for the next video. Okay, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please leave comments. I really love hearing what you think about the videos, and I would really love if you would subscribe to my channel, and that way you won't miss the next episode, episode 3, where we're moving on 1966, probably into 67. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Andrew Brooks, and I hope you enjoyed it.